Hello, hello, hello. Feels strange to say good afternoon. I'm so used to doing these in the morning. Right, as always, you know the drill. I have to wait for the thumbs up that I can be heard before we can make a start. Oh, that was a quick thumbs up. All done. Okay, right. Good afternoon, everyone. How are we on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon? It is glorious here, clear blue skies. I hope it is wherever in the world you are joining us from. So, if this is the first session that you've done with me, I'm sure it's not. I'm sure most of you have had a good few sessions. My name is Miss Kimball, and I'm going to be teaching you and your teacher how to use Just2easy. And in today's session, we're going to be having a look at j2create. Okay, and we're going to be designing a party invite. So it's Cinderella's party, and we are going to send out an invitation. Okay, so teachers, this is loosely based on the Northern Ireland CCEA task of the same name. But those of you that are joining us from outside of Northern Ireland, it's still a very relevant session. Now, of course, the most important part, shout outs. So I have 3 schools, so hopefully you are one of them. So hello and good afternoon to P3 at Cookstown Primary School. So hello to you guys, welcome. I have a big hello to St Malachy's Primary in Coleraine. So primary 4-5 class. So hello and welcome to you guys. And then last but not least, some usual suspects. I think I saw them yesterday, in fact. Mrs. Mack's class at Ballymoney Integrated Primary School. My goodness, Mrs. Mack, you'll be working for us at this rate, the number of these live lessons you do with us. We are very happy, as always, to have all of you here today. So if your name wasn't on the list, hello and welcome. So let's have a think about what we're going to learn to do today. We are going to learn and we're going to consider what makes a good party invite first of all. So hopefully you've all seen a party invite or given a party invite. So we'll have a think about what sorts of information we need for a good party invite. Then we are going to find and open j2create. We're going to learn how to adjust our page size. That's something I haven't shown you before. So we're going to learn how to change our page size and also probably change our backgrounds as well. Then we're going to use the text, picture, shape and layering tools in j2create to create our wonderful party invitations. And then we're going to save our work. So we may not get through all this. You might not finish your party invitation, but you know the drill. If you don't, we will leave off at a point where you can save and then you can come back and carry on with it at a later date. Okay, so hands up, who has received or given a party invite? I would think that is probably most of you, if not all of you. Okay. Hands down. So I want you to have a little think. And in fact, I will give you 30 seconds to have a very quiet talk with your partner about what sorts of information do we need for a party invite. So what sorts of things are we going to write on our party invite? So I'll give you 30 seconds. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, everybody quiet again. So this is the list that I made. I might have forgotten some things, I'm not sure. So let's see if I can find it. And this is a tricky word. The recipient. The recipient. So you might not know what that means. So that is who the invite is addressed to. Okay, so the person giving the invite, it's who they are writing it to. Okay, so if it's Cinderella's party, a recipient might be, I don't know, a fairy tale creature. So it might be Snow White, or it might be the Ugly Sisters, or it might be the prince. So all of these are recipients. Okay, another thing that might be included or needs to be included, a venue. Again, this might be a tricky word that you don't know, a venue. So that means where the party's being held. So people need to know where they're going. Because if they all go to different places, it's not going to be a party, is it? Okay, so the venue. So these are all things we need to think about for our invite. A date. Now this is very important. You need to know what day to go, don't you? Okay, so the date of the party. So is it a week on Saturday? Is it in June? Is it in September? What date in September? And closely linked to that is going to be the time, isn't it? So you don't want people turning up at 9 o'clock in the morning if your party starts at 2. So it's very important to give people not only a start time, but usually a finish time as well, depending on the event. And we've got the host. Again, this might not be a word that you know, the host. So the host is the person that is giving the party. Okay, so if this is Cinderella's party, who is the host? That's right, it's Cinderella. Well done. And then last but not least, sometimes you can miss this off, but generally we have what's called an RSVP by date. Now, don't ask me what RSVP stands for, because I don't know. But what RSVP means is you need a reply. So the host needs to know if you're coming or not. So they can make food and drinks, and they know how many people there are in attendance. Okay, so those are the main bits of information that we need to add onto our party invite. So hopefully we're going to get through all of that. So let's have a look at what we're going to create today. So this is my waggle. So what a good one looks like. So this is my example of Cinderella's party invite. So this is made in j2create, you can see here. And we've got lots of elements to this. So we've got some text. Okay, so we know whose party it is. There's my host. We've got to, so that is the recipient. Who is it to? The date, the time, the place, from, so who's inviting, an RSVP. So we need a number and a date. Okay, and then we've also got some pictures or some shapes around the outside, and we've changed our background colour. So we have lots of things to get through today, as always. Who would like to create one of these with me today? Hopefully you're all excited to do this. I tell you what I do need to do. I need to plug my laptop in. Otherwise, if my laptop goes off, then nobody's doing anything. Okay, so teachers. I think on the list I saw a couple of people that were brand new to these sessions. So I'm going to show the children step by step how to do the activities. Because it's streamed live on YouTube, you can pause the session. So if you are working with younger children or they just need a bit more time to do the activities before moving on to the next step, pause the session and then come back to it. And you can always come back to this recording at a later date as well. The same link will work for the recorded versions for the on-demand. Okay, children. We are going to find j2create. So hopefully you are logged in. Teachers, if they're not logged in, this is a good time to pause and a good time to use your QR code logins. So we're going to find j2create. Who can find it on their launchpad? That's it. It's this one here, and you'll know it's probably the easiest one to find because it's got this lovely was J2E5 corner bit because it used to be called J2E5. It's not anymore. It's called J2create, which is a much better name. So we're going to click J2create, and here we go. Okay. So J2create is a tool that we use to create lots and lots of different things. So you can make posters, presentations, um, you can write bits of information, you can add photos into it, sounds, text, shapes, word lists, maths tools, there's all sorts of things. But the very first thing we're going to do before we add anything onto our page is we're going to adjust our page size. So at the moment, can you see I've got an A4 piece of paper, and this kind of grey outline that's showing me the edges of my piece of paper. Okay, and you'll see at the bottom down here, so over here, there we go, over there, that shows me that I've got A4. Okay, and at the moment it means that I've got to scroll down and scroll up, and that means you can't see the whole page. So the first thing we need to do is we need to change that. So A4 is a size of paper. Okay, so A4 is that normal piece of paper like this. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to use half of it. So you just want something like this. So this size is called A5. Shall I say that again without a really broad Birmingham accent? A5. See, I can't. It just comes out. A5. That's better. So we're going to use this drop down menu here. So can you see? I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in. You don't need to. I'm just zooming in so you can see a bit better. Okay, can you see this little arrow next to the A4? You're going to click on that, and you've got, it's not coming off my screen. Wait there. You're going to click on that. I don't know why it's not translating onto. Okay, it's not translating onto my screen for some bizarre reason. It's very odd. But when you click on that button, there should be a little pop-up menu that gives you lots of different page sizes. So I want you to scroll up where it says A5. A5. Okay, I'm going to click on that. And can you see that it's changed the size of my paper now? Okay, so it's not huge. I do have to scroll down just a tiny bit, but actually we can do all of our invitation on this bit here, and we don't need to scroll down. Okay, so there we go. So we've changed our page size. So I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to do that again. So you're going to press that little arrow there. You're going to go up to A5, and you're going to change it to A5. I need some elocution lessons. The next thing we're going to do, and teachers, the pupils might need a little bit of time to do this because it can be quite fun, is you can change the paper background. So there's two things that we can do with our background colour, because at the moment it's a bit boring. It's white, doesn't look great. So we can change the colour of our paper. So we can do that by clicking. Can you see? Again, I'm going to zoom in so you can see. I've got these two buttons here. So this one, I can click on this, and you can see that tick has arrived. And then I've got my colours along the right hand side here. So I can change my page colour. So that is a flat page colour. Okay, so that's one option if you just want a plain colour. The other option we've got, children, is this one here. Can you see the little image that looks like it's got mountains and a sunshine? So if we click on that, these are our paper backgrounds. So you can scroll through these. I think there's about 25. I quite like this one personally. But you can click through them and have a look and see which one you like. You don't have to use the paper backgrounds, children. You can go back to just the plain colour, and to do that you click on that white box at the top, so that will take the paper background away. But there are lots and lots of paper backgrounds to choose from. So teachers, this is where you might want to pause the session whilst they go through all 25. And then when you're ready, you can press play. There are some very nice ones. So that would be a good one, wouldn't it, if you're doing a summer party invitation? But there's a nice rainbow one as well. I'm going to stick with my, yeah, I'm going to go with my pink one at the bottom. My peachy pinky purple, this one. So I will give you a minute just to find that perfect background. It is very hot here today. Okay. I'll give you another 10 seconds and then we're going to move on. Okay. Okay, if you need more time, teachers, you can pause. So the next thing that we need to do is, I think we're going to add our text first. Okay. So the great thing about J2create is we can click anywhere on this screen. So can you see? If you're using a mouse, you can click with your left click. If you're using a touch screen like an iPad, you can just touch your screen. She says, trying to touch touch your screen. Wherever you want to put your text. Can you see my cursors flashing? So wherever I click, that is where I'm going to start my writing. Now, don't worry if you start writing and you don't like where your text is positioned, because we can change it a bit later. Why is this off my screen? That's very odd. Bear with me. I don't know why it's gone off my screen. I've lost all of the buttons down here. Okay. There we go. Okay, let's try. Oh, still lost them all. There they are. Very bizarre. And they're back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the screen and I'm going to start typing. So whose party are we writing these invitations from? That's right, it's Cinderella's party. So I'm going to write Cinderella. Remember our apostrophe for possession. So Cinderella's party. So I'm going to give you a second just to follow that. So I'm going to zoom in for you just so you can see for spelling. Don't worry too much if you don't spell it right. Cinderella's party. Okay. Now, oh, it's back now. Now, does that look like a title for a party invite? Does it look exciting and like somewhere that you'd like to go? No, it looks flat and boring and small, doesn't it? So this is where we can start to use things called fonts. So that is how our words are written. So what they look like when they're written on the page. So different fonts do different things. Now to change this font, we're going to double click. So we're going to click 2 times really quickly on this text. So can you see I've got my blue boxes? Okay. And what I can do is, first of all, I'm going to make that bigger. So we've got our font size. So can you see on the right hand side here, got my size, so I can make that much bigger. So I'm going to go down to 36. That already looks better, doesn't it? So I'm going to change the size of my text, and then I'm going to change the font. So we've got our font here. So at the moment it's Trebuchet MS. So that is the standard font. So can you see this little drop down menu here on the right? So I'm going to use that. And then I've got some text fonts here. And when I click on these, it changes how my words look. So there's lots to choose from. Now teachers, if you're working with older students, or you and you want a little bit more time, or you want to extend this activity somewhat, there is the option to choose more fonts. Now I will warn you, there's 1800 fonts in there, which is why I'm not going to show them today, because I know that we have got some younger children joining us, but just be aware that that is something that they can do. Okay, so I would like you to choose one of these to change your text to. I think I'm going to choose impact, because impact is nice, it's big, it's chunky, it's a great title font. Okay. Now there's also some other things that we can do. We can use these three tools here. So can you see the B, the I, the U? Does anybody know what B stands for? Bold. So it makes your text bigger and chunkier. Okay, so that's probably more obvious on thinner fonts. The I, now this is a funny word. Does anybody know what this means? The little I stands for italic. So if I click on that, it puts my words on a slant. And then lastly, we've got the U, and the U stands for underline. Okay, so you can add all of those if you want to. And then I'm going to click and move that text. I'm going to move it just to the top of my page, not right at the top, because I'm going to add some shapes along the top there. And I'm just going to make sure it's in the middle. So I can double click and I can click and move that around. Okay. So teachers, I am going to move on. If you need to pause the session, feel free. So what was the next thing that we had on our party invite? So we've got Cinderella's party, so we know whose party it is. What was the first thing we had on our list? It was a long word. It was the recipient, so that means who the invite is to. So we can write either word. So we can either write recipient if you are feeling brave. For those of you that are not feeling brave, we can just write to. So that's what I'm going to write. So I'm going to remember I can click anywhere on my page, can't I? We need a capital. So I'm going to go to O. And you can leave it like that if you want to. Or you can, on your keyboard, you can find the dash. So that's normally at the top next to your 0, your number 0. Or you can use a colon. So that one is tricky. So colon, you will generally need to hold down your shift button and then use your semicolon colon button, which is next to the L button. So sometimes a dash is easier. Let's go for a dash. Okay. Now we're not going to add anything else just yet. But what I would like you to do is you're going to click a little bit further down. Try and be in line. Doesn't have to be exactly right, but try and be in line with that first line. So 2. What was another bit of information that we put onto our party invite? From. Okay, let's add from. Remember our capital and our dash. and then we're going to add one more. So I'm going to move on, teachers. Who can remember one more piece of information? Okay, let's put a date. So I'm going to click, add a capital and a dash at the end. To, from, and date. Okay, right. What I'm going to do now is, now this is easier if your children are using a mouse than it would be for an iPad. If they're using an iPad, I want you to just double click on these and find an appropriate font. Okay, and do each one at a time. Now, children, if you're using a mouse, what I want you to do is I want you to left click and hold and drag over all three of these. Okay, as I said with an iPad, that's a bit trickier. You can try, but it can be a little bit fiddly. So we can click and drag, and that means that we can change all three of these at the same time. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to find a font that we like. So we're going to use our fonts the same as we did with our title. And I might choose, I think, Arial Narrow. But I might make it, yeah, italic. Now that's too small for me, so I'm going to make that bigger. I might even make it a little bit bigger still, so I can click in this line, change that number. I'm going to change it to 28. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to do a couple of other things. Now for the younger students, this may be out of their remit. Okay, so teachers feel free to pause and then skip ahead to the shape section. Rest of you, follow me. So we have a really special tool that I don't show very often, and that is, now I'm sure there must be a technical term for it, but I like to call it the liney uppy tool. And the liney uppy tool is down here. So can you see these buttons down here? So we did look at these in a lesson a few weeks ago, if you were with us for the vector drawing activity. So we have, oh, there you go, it's the arrange tool. I prefer the liney uppy tool, whichever you prefer, but it's above the layering tools that we have here. So can you see, in fact, it's right behind my head, isn't it? Let me zoom in. There we go. Okay. So up here, up here, this tool, the liney uppy tool. Okay, at the bottom right of your page, the arrange tool. So we're going to click that, and that's going to give us some different options. Okay, so this is really clever. So the first thing we're going to do is we've got lots of alignment. Okay, again, do you know what? Let me move my head. That would make more sense, wouldn't it? My head's going up here now. Hello. Back to the screen. There we go. Okay. So I need to drag those. I am going to align my text so that it all starts in the same place. So can you see these alignment tools? So we've got a line at the top, so we don't want that. A line in the middle, we don't want that. And a line at the bottom, because they will push them all to the bottom. These are the ones that we want. So we've got a line to the left-hand side of my page, a line in the middle, or a line on the right. Okay, now we want this one, a line on the left. And can you see that moved some of them, and now they all line up in a very exact line. So that's why it's called the liney uppy tool. Okay, so that is one very clever thing that it does. It also will position things into the middle of your screen if you wanted to. So middle, the very center, and the vertically, and then in the very middle horizontally. So these are really, really useful if you want to make things equal size or equal position. They're great for presentations. And then we've also got this equal gaps one at the bottom. Okay, so this one's great if you add in the top word wherever you want it and the bottom word wherever you want it. You can just shove everything else in the middle, and we can use this button, the liney uppy button. That is the equal gaps vertically button. Okay, so we're going to click on that, and that is going to line them up so they're all equal distance. Okay, and then we can just move these to the side a little bit, and there we go. So there is to, from, date, all in a very exact line. So teachers, they might just need a little bit more time. If you want to, teachers, you can add the rest of the information. So you can pause the session and add in the venue, the RSVP number, and I can't remember, you said something else, didn't we? Date and time. So you can add those. I'm going to move ahead, just I'm conscious of time, but that is something that you can do at this point if you wanted to. Okay. Now, I've got my content where I want it. I've got my text where I want it. Now, the easiest way for us to proceed now to creating our shapes is to lock our text on the page, because that means that we then don't move it by mistake. It doesn't get in the way. We don't have to use things like layering. Okay. So to lock my content on the page, again, this works better if you're using a mouse because you can click and drag and highlight. If they are using iPads or touchscreens, you can double click and press lock, but you'd have to do that for everyone. So it just depends on what they're using and how old they are. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag and highlight all 4 of those bits of text. And now I'm going to go down here. Again, I'm going to zoom in to this button that says lock. So what that will do is it locks that text in place. It means that I can't move it. I can move it, but it just makes it a bit more difficult. Okay, so we're going to click lock. And there we go. You'll notice I can't click on that text and highlight it. Okay. Now teachers, if they need to move it again, you can double click. You have that unlock box that appears, and anything that's got a red box around it is locked. So you can click and unlock anything if they need to. Okay, so remember, highlight, lock, double click, unlock, and click on the stuff that you need to unlock. So teachers, this is a really good process if you're creating templates for the students, creative writing or sentence starters, that kind of thing, where you want them to write afterwards. So you can lock text to the page. Okay. So there we go. So we've got Cinderella's party, we've got to, we've got from, and date. So let's just have a little reflect back on my party invite that I created as a waggle. What other stuff have I got to add in? That's right, I do have some information which I'm going to leave for now. I'm going to show you how to add in these lovely shapes around the outside. Okay, because we can finish off this text. We know how to add in text, so you can carry on with that a bit later when you reflect back on this activity. So the shape tool is at the top of the page. So up here, can you see next to the big W, next to the photo button in the middle, there is our shape tool. So it's got a triangle, a circle, and a square. So it's up here. Okay, and we're going to click on that, and that is going to bring up our standard shapes. So at this point, you can choose whichever shape it is that you want for your invite. Okay, so we can scroll through. There's lots. There's arrows, there's plus, there's little cloudy things, there's hearts, there's pentagons, speech bubbles, or stars. Now I'm going to start with a star just because it's quite nice. Okay, so when you find the shape that you want to use, you're just going to click and drag it onto your page. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you some tips. So can you see in this invite, my shapes are coloured, aren't they? So I've got pink stars and red hearts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that shape, and that gives me some different options. So first of all, I can change how that shape looks. So I can change the size by dragging the blue boxes. If you've got a mouse, this is a bit easier. You'll have a little pink box at the top that you can drag, and you can change that into a different shape. So there we go. So I can make it into a starburst, or a 6-point star, or a 5, or a whatever that is. There we go. Okay. So I can change the shape, and then I've also got along the right hand side, when I've clicked on my shape, I've got this fill button. So I can click fill, and now I can change the colour that is included in that, okay, just by clicking on these colours along the right hand side, my rainbow. So I actually have two colours that I can change. So I've got the fill colour here, and also the outline. So the outline by default is grey, so you can keep that as grey, or if you really want to, you can make it a different colour. So you could have blue outline, or a red outline, or a yellow outline, or whatever it is that you want. We could just make it purple. There we go. I quite liked having the blue outline. There we go. Okay. And you do have the option to make it gradient. This is a little bit tricky. Let's switch that off. Let's not do that. Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller. So that I've finished editing. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to see what it looks like. So what do I think? That looks quite good, doesn't it? Okay. Now this is a really neat trick. If you want to make lots and lots of copies of something, okay, can you see when I click on that object, I've got this, and I'm going to zoom in. You don't need to. I'm going to just show you. Can you see this little square? Can you see it on your screen? So if I click and hold, click and drag on that blue, it will give me copies. And I can keep clicking and dragging. And in fact, when I lay one down, that sort of plus button will appear. So then I can just keep making copies of the same shape. Okay, so that little plus button is fantastic for making copies. So that's why we edited that first one. So that is our prototype, or our master copy. Okay. Now teachers, again, if you're working with younger students, you can get them to just keep copying and do it down the other side and along the top if you wanted to. For slightly older or more able students, I'm going to show you another little cheat. But teachers, feel free to carry on if you feel that the children have reached their maximum. We have got a couple minutes, and then we're gonna save and move on. So actually, I'm going to delete this master copy now. So I'm going to hit delete. Okay. Now, remember with our text, we use the liney uppy tool. Okay, and we can do the same with our shape. So I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to highlight them the same as I did with my text. And I'm going to click on my liney uppy tool. So remember that is down here. And I've got my different alignments. So this time I'm going to align it vertically. So this one into the middle. I'm just going to close that because it is driving me nuts. There we go. And I've also got the equal gaps. So I'm going to make that equal gaps. Okay. So that now is equally spaced in a line. And then the next thing that we can do is, can you see there's the blue plus? Now that I've highlighted them all, there's a blue plus here. So that means I can make a copy of all of those stars and pop it over here. So like this, I'm going to click and hold. Look at that. That is time saving. Okay. And if I'm feeling really brave, I could, and this is quite high level, I could drag this over here, okay? And I've got this twisty turny circle, so I can, oh, that's not going to work, is it? Oh, yeah, there it is. So twist it round at a right angle, she says. There we go. And then I can use those corner boxes to make that smaller and drag it up to the top if you wanted to. I'm going to make that much smaller and drag it into the middle. And then again, use that blue plus, drop it down the bottom. And there we go. Now that might be too high level, so don't worry if you can't do that. You can just click and make another line of stars that are much smaller and then copy them all. Okay. So children, I think we are almost at the very end of our creating a party invite. Okay. I hope you've enjoyed it. Obviously, we haven't finished our invite. I knew that when I was planning this session that it would probably be too much. But you can see the concept here. We've got our text, we've got our shapes. Now you can lock these shapes onto the page, the same as we did with our text, and you can add more text here. You've also on my Waggle, we've got some pictures. So that is where you would use your picture tool, which is up here, and search for things like party. Okay, and you can add those in onto your invite. Okay, now what is the last thing we need to do with our work before we finish our session today? Who knows? What do we need to do? We do, well done. Hopefully you said save. We're going to look for the floppy disk. Children, I say this every lesson. Floppy disk. It's a museum piece now. It's this one up here. That's what we used to save onto in the olden times before there was a cloud. We used to plug it in and it could probably cope with about one file before it melted. So we're going to click on that. You're going to name your file. So let's say invite and we're going to click save. Okay, and that's going to save that into your My Files. So when you need to come back, you can find that in your My Files. And there we go. There is my invite at the top. Okay. So teachers, I have skipped ahead and forgotten to use my presentation. Here we go. So teachers, some extension activity ideas or some real life contextualization if you need to. Do you have some school events coming up? Could you get the children to create some invites or posters using the skills that you've learned today? So here are some examples. So it is almost the end of school. I know certainly in Northern Ireland you've only got what, 5 or 6 weeks left. You lucky, lucky things. So could you create an end of school party invite or a family school carnival? Are you holding a summer fete? Do you think your students could create something to advertise it? If you do, be sure to tag us on any social media posts. I get a very big thrill out of seeing anything that the children are creating. If you've got pictures of them interacting with the session, anything like that, be sure to tag us Just2easy on any social medias. Now, last little bit. As always, I'm going to plug this, our fundraising opportunity. We are keen for our schools to access this. It is free funding for computing in your school. All your school needs to do is to register, your parents register, and then your parents will earn money from all of their usual spending. So if they're shopping on Amazon or Morrison's or Asda, they can get cash back that goes straight to you. So you can get details here, easyfundraising.org. There's also a little button if you click in the teachers area down here, so you can register right there. Okay, and we would be thrilled for you to get some funds. So children, thank you ever so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy my little emoji there, my AI generated emoji. The likeness is uncanny, don't you think? So I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been lovely to see you all again, and I hope to see you for another session soon. And a little spoiler alert, I think I'm going to be doing these weekly come September because I enjoy them so much. So hopefully I will see you